Neeraj, what an absolute pleasure to have you on your first trip in Toronto.
Yes.
How do you feel being here?
I feel amazing because also that it's 50th year of Toronto TIFF, and to have my film premiere here, it's amazing.
This is the North American premiere of Homebound. And, you know, it's not just the 50th year of TIFF, Neeraj, but you are getting one of the best locations with the Roy Thompson Hall.
Yes, I've been hearing about that, and I'm quite honestly a little excited and more nervous. I believe it's some 1700 seater. Yes,
And
I'm
it's
a little...
sold out.
Oh,
Says
yeah?
a lot, yes, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know this.
So let me ask you this. It's such an interesting, deep and layered story. I'm very curious to know, where did this story come from?
It all started with Basharat Pir's article for the New York Times. It was titled Bringing Home Amrit. It was a true story based on two boys. So my producer Somin Mishra introduced me to it. When I read it, it broke me. And it spoke to me. You know, like there's this quote that came to me when I read the story. It's by Rilke. It says, let everything happen to you, beauty and terror, no feeling is final. So with every story draft, I put that title to inspire myself. So that's the theme of the film. But you know, the reason why I chose this film, there are multiple reasons to it. One is that Indian villages are disappearing from Hindi cinema. And a large part of India still lives in rural India. And that erasure is a bother to me. And, you know, if you look at it world over, you know, when you talk about minorities, say racial minorities or religious or caste or ethnic or even sexual minorities and migrants, they're all spoken in statistics. And you would meet in a party and you would talk about, oh, this is happening so bad, there's so many people. I think it's more to assuage our urban guilt. We express hollow sympathy without any accountability. And I feel that what if we actually pick up two people from this lot and we humanize them? We go back to their origin story and understand where they come from, what are their dreams, what are their aspirations, what food they like, what movies do they like, how do they behave with each other, and what do they leave behind when they migrate? What are their dreams that are shattered and how do they return home? So it's an attempt to talk about people who are systemically othered and not spoken about in the mainstream realm, to give them that space and to celebrate their lives. That has been my intent. And personally, if you ask me, I put in a lot of my childhood in this film and my teenage years. I grew up in a patriarchal Dalit household. And it had bothered me a lot that I got more privilege than my sisters. And I wanted to express that shame in the film. If you've seen the film, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And also, for a large part of my life, 35 years, I've hidden my identity as a Dalit. I've masqueraded as an upper caste member. And the weight of shame is insurmountable. And it damages you from inside. It makes you... I mean, a lot part of my imposter syndrome comes from there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I should put it out there, put my shame out there, to sort of like exercise my own demons. So there have been... So that personally it has been cathartic to go there and bring it all in. So yeah, there were many reasons.
What did you learn about yourself writing this?
Where do I begin? Or also I'm out of a loss of words at the same time. I learned about there's no point in carrying this shame, because the shame is on those people who shamed me. And it's their burden to carry. It's not my burden to carry. And I don't have to carry this like the Sisyphus. You know, I'm not walking up the hill. And I need to be happy with who I am. It's a slow process in the journey, because such a long life I've lived masquerading, passing, and now coming into my own. So this film has given me that strength to come into my own, and also to something that has kept me in good stead is empathy, which is what this film is also about fundamentally.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting because so many of the characters, Neeraj, go through a similar arc in their journey, like the highs and the lows, you know, to the mothers, to the father. Everyone goes through a very similar and parallel journey. What was that you're trying to tell people about humanity, about life?
Cinematically, if you see, it's, you know, it's not always about the protagonists, the main characters. When people migrate, it's not just them, it's the families. What happens to them? How their dreams are also crushed along with them. So my intent was not, and also, you know, like, I mean, this film, this story came to me, right? And I'm making this film about two guys, two dudes, and like the feminist in me doesn't augur well. And I've always made films where like women are being pivotal in many aspects. So yes, so if you see the Sudha's character or the mother or the sister, they are very strong-willed women. They have deep agency and they express their opinions and they have thoughts which are not consequential to their relationship with the men. And that has been an intention very clear. Probably more so because, you know, like I said, I've been brought up in a patriarchal household and I've been practically emotionally raised a lot by my mother and my sisters. So maybe it comes, I mean, my feminism is personal, honestly, because my father has been that patriarchal person and we all have suffered through it. And I do talk to him about it. And maybe with this film also, he'll try to see it.
In our culture, the masculine and the feminine are both represented very deeply and very strongly and are revered in Hinduism, for example. Right. So, you know, I find it very interesting how religiously there's a certain balance in our, you know, masculine and feminine, but it doesn't translate over culturally oftentimes. Yes. You know, so there seems to be kind of this kind of duality associated with, you know, what we are meant to do in culture, but what we are brought up to do in religion. Mm-hmm. You talk a little bit about, you know, the social times around COVID, around, you know, the relationship between these two friends wasn't just the socioeconomic climate, but it was also the religious climate, mm-hmm. climate between the two as well. What were you hoping, or what do you hope that people get out of that arc of the story?
Honestly speaking, I don't want to point daggers at anyone. I am not othering a community. I'm not trying to side with certain ideology. My intention, and I feel this very strongly, is that eventually humans fail each other. You know, you may have, like from my own community, I have people who I may differ with, whom I don't appreciate their opinions as much, but I still want to listen to it. And that is my entire intent, that, you know, it's pointless to like point out someone and say that you are full of hatred, you are this, you know, you are an evil person. I would say, I think, given the way the world is shaping, the kind of things that are happening around the world, we need empathy. We need people to sit next to you and talk to each other and say that maybe have we gone too far? Can we calibrate a bit? Can we, you know, that's so empathy is a big takeaway from the film for me.
As a writer, when you put that hat on, you know, you are here with your thoughts, perhaps your research, and you're putting pen to paper or however your process is. But then once you know that, okay, it's complete from this perspective, now I need to take it from paper or computer screen to film.
Right.
What have you found making this film and doing the transition from the writer phase to the director phase? What have you noticed that perhaps you may have changed, taken out, or added in when you came into the film space? I'm always curious about that when I have a director and a writer to interview.
Firstly, I think this is the first time I'm writing a screenplay by myself and also dialogues. It was quite daunting, and also because it's such a personal story to me and to the world as well. Now, honestly, I think the writing process has been more rigorous, more cathartic than the direction, because direction, I have an experience about how to go about it. But a conduit between both of them is my penchant for authenticity, for true lived experiences of people. For me, that is sacrosanct. And I believe that imagination can only go to a certain extent. So I borrow a lot from reality. I have toured with my cast members as well to multiple villages, stayed in their homes, eaten, understood them, and then try to bring their lived reality into this film. Once you know that you are kind of somewhere close to their truth, it then helps you navigate. But I must say, writing has been way, way difficult than directing the film.
Mm-hmm.
Because directing, I had a team, like we all were like a close-knit family, and I had actors. But writing is such a solo journey that's so punishing. It's punishing, honestly.
When you look back at writing this story, especially since it comes from such a deeply intimate space for you, would you do it again or not? I'm curious because this was partly autobiographical in certain elements, and not all writing stories will be. So I'm curious.
Since I have dealt with such identitarian politics of myself, I feel that I thrive well when I ought to make it my personal. It ought to become personal. I don't thrive well if it is something that if I'm a director on hire, or if I'm writing something alien to me, it has to become my own. Like, for instance, like way back, I made a film called Gili Pucci.
Mm-hmm.
It's on intersectionality of queer and sexuality and gender and a lot of politics together.
Yes.
And I had to experience those lived realities up close. It's only when that I can like make it authentic. Mm-hmm. So that has always kept me in good stead.
I think that's your magic. But
what? I mean, it's not entirely magic. It's also that I cannot thrive without it. Like I have to, yeah. I mean, it's a necessity for me.
Absolutely. So when you put on the hat of a director and you have multiple characters who go through deep arcs, the ups and downs, what's your journey like with them to make sure that they're able to bring out the authenticity of the character? Because that's the hardest part.
I may sound a little haughty saying this, but good performance is not enough for me. And, because actors, these are very good actors. You give them a scene, they learn it in like 20 minutes tops and they'll nail the scene. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something where it gives all of us to reach to a truth of a certain characters who have been systemically erased from popular culture and mainstream things. So our responsibility becomes larger. So I want these actors and even every crew member to deep dive, to come with a lot of inquiry and genuine empathy, and to understand a lot of things that may not come out on the screen, but they ought to know. Like, for instance, like all these actors were given Ambedkar's Annihilation of Caste, the seminal book about caste, his speeches. From that point on, a lot of things started where for them to deep dive in culture, in society, and not just come with like, okay, actor, craft, yeah, sit here, mark this thing, I'll move from here to there. That is just basic. I feel that that's more important to me.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. What do you want the audience to get out of this? Like, what for you would make you feel, I made a successful film from an audience perspective?
If they've been harboring resentment or any sort of things about people, if they think that, if one person thinks that maybe it's gone too far and maybe we need to evaluate, maybe let me talk to the person and understand why was this person like this? Maybe or maybe there's something wrong with me and I have been blinded. I need to think. If that empathy is inculcated and they willing to have dialogue with someone that they've been othering, that is the big takeaway for me. So empathy is a big one for me.
Absolutely. And I have one final question that I'd like to ask you, Neeraj, and that is, if Homebound was a letter to yourself, what would you want to tell yourself?
Wow. Honestly, I'm flabbergasted by a question. I think it will be a letter to my childhood self. It would say, that you did good, given what you experienced. You made up something of your own. It wasn't your fault. And wow, it would be a letter to my childhood self to free him from the burden of the trauma that it carried for so many years, and to say that you were a good kid and you did well, and may you be loved. May you love yourself, which you deny yourself a lot. Yeah.
One great thing that has come out of the experiences that you've had, Neeraj, getting to where you are, is that we get the pleasure of your artistry. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure and an honor to speak with you.
You have such brilliant questions and you speak with such empathy.
Thank you.
Sorry, the last question I got a little...
But I love that. That's the authenticity, right?
No, but that was a very good question.
Thank you.